Hello there, people of the internet. I have the air conditioner going. It is literally 100 degrees outside right now, so I'm not turning that off. That being said, this should still be a fun video. That being said, I have no idea how to actually record this because my recording space is quite limited. There's just stuff everywhere. But I'm gonna make an attempt because I have this, and let's go ahead and unbox it and take a look at it. So, I got this big heaping case that came from the internet. And long story short, I won this at an auction, and I'm sure that from the title you guys can tell what this is. This is a Century Arms CETME C308. Let's go ahead, open this bad boy up, and pull this out of here. What's the best way to do that? Give me a second here. So, now that we've got it out of the box, I don't even have enough room for the box in this room. I literally have it laying on so much stuff. This filming room is also kind of a storage room. I think it's also a reloading room. It's also a tufting room. We do like carpets and whatnot. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this room. But anyway, this right here is the rifle that we are looking at. Century Arms C308. The reason why I wanted this one in particular, one, it's a lot less expensive than, say, a PTR 91 or something like that, and it's got wood furniture on it. Preferably, I would have enjoyed a wood buttstock, but this particular one came with a plastic buttstock. I'm not too broken up about that. Wood buttstocks can be found pretty easily and cheaply, and the price that I got this rifle at, I am not complaining about that at all. These are a lot heavier than I remember. I've messed with these before, never actually shot one, but I've messed with these before, and every time I mess with them, I'm just like blown away at just how big they really are. And they really do look like a 308 MP5. I got a buddy of mine, he's got an MP5 that's a 22 long rifle that we were playing with not too long ago, and it's a striking resemblance with this right here. So, I really like these things. They're roller delayed systems. You know, HK's very famous for their roller delayed blowback systems. So, getting the thing going, or not getting the thing going, how do I want to say this? Charging the charging handle while the thing is in battery can be a little difficult because you got to pull back. Those two roller systems have to like push into themselves. But once you get past that point, it's not too terribly bad. But that being said, this still takes a lot of muscle to move around. I know I had the girlfriend checking this thing out, I don't know, yesterday, the day before. I was like, hey, try pulling this charging handle back, and man, she couldn't do it to save her life. She's definitely an AR-15 girl. Alright, so right off the bat, what we're looking at here, well, let's go ahead and start, as Grand Thumb would say, tip to butt. If we look up here, we see a muzzle brake that is definitely not what you would normally find on these rifles. As long as it's a 30 caliber and it's not going to destroy itself whenever I shoot, that'll be fine. I'm sure it's going to dramatically upset the people around me because I'm going to be shooting this at a public range, but I'm sure it's going to be fine. I believe this right here is a gas cutoff system, likely for a grenade launcher system. That is just me making assumptions here. I'm not positive about that. I'll have to do more research on it. Looks like our handguard is held on with a wood screw. I mean, that works well enough. We have ourselves a wooden handguard here. The charging handle, I'll be honest, they kind of suck. Of course, that's just indicative of this design. The charging handles kind of suck. Every time I try pulling this thing back, my finger just kind of catches right here on this skinny part of the charging handle, and it ends up hurting after I do that a couple of times. But besides that, I mean, the charging handle will get the job done. I can't really complain about that too much. Front sight looks like it is adjustable for elevation, and I do not see a way to adjust it for windage, nor do I see that on the rear sight, so I'm just going to have to hope that this is hitting where it's supposed to be hitting, because if not, I have no idea how to fix that. I will have to play around with it. We're not going to be able to take this to the range today. We actually have some weather outside. That's one of the reasons why I'm inside this room making this video versus out on the range. Alright, no paddle release magazine. We only have the push button. That's fine. I'm not complaining about that. This did come with 6 20-round magazines. This fires 308. 20 rounds of 308. That's quite a bit of power. I showed this, sent this Well, essentially, I sent a photo of this gun like this to my buddy, and he said it reminded him of a BAR, like a bar, and I could see the resemblance. 20-round mag, they both fire approximately the same power ammunition, assuming that we're talking about M2 ball 30-06. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. Of course, the mechanical systems are going to be different. This is a roller blade system. Okay, moving on. We got ourselves a Picatinny rail on this thing in case I ever feel like mounting an optic, which I might do. One of the magazines this came with was a little 5-round hunting magazine, so I could take this thing out hunting. I'd have to zero scope for it, but I can pull that off. 308 is a little overpowered for the things that we have around here, but it would be fun to take this thing out hunting. So, how you disassemble this thing, there's 2 pins right here. Both pins are present. You normally take those pins out, the buttstock comes off, the guts come out. You set your pins in these 2 holes on the back of the buttstock in case anyone was ever wondering what those were for, just to make sure that they don't get lost. Okay, rear sight, looks like we have ourselves one of those rear sights that's actually not a turn knob. We have a little flip adjustable rear sight. We got a V-notch 100, a 200-yard aperture, and 3 and 4, and those are all apertures. So we got ourselves a 100-yard V-notch sight. That's probably the one that I'm going to be using, just because of the distances that I shoot at. I don't really touch out past 100 yards. Now, depending on what ammunition I'm using in this thing, I might have to adjust that a little bit. Maybe if I go with heavier bullets that are moving a little bit slower, maybe the 200-yard zero will be where it hits point at aim at 100 yards. If you've ever played around with what your gun likes and what it doesn't like and what hits where, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, plastic buttstock, we've already talked about that. The welding on this, really not great, but I mean, it's serviceable. Our rear sight is just welded directly onto the receiver, so that is a non-removable part, not unless I want to break out some kind of grinder. Looks like our bolt carrier group right here has a lot of quite crude welding on it as well. I have no idea how well this thing's actually going to function. Never taken it out, but it is clearly used. So that tells me that it probably will function. Okay, hold on. Let me tell you guys about this, because why not? I don't have a whole lot of 308s to work with here. I know that I do reload 308, but my reloading components, well, let me tell you guys about my reloading of 308. The main reason why I don't reload 308 specifically is because I can get like surplus 7.62 NATO for about the same price that it would take to reload 308. Now, I already have the reloading components, but I'm better off spending those reloading components on, say, 303 British or 7.5 Swiss, things that are more expensive than 308. So rather than reload those 308s, unless I'm loading black powder 308, which I could do for significantly cheaper than loading actual smokeless powder 2-spec 308, I'm not going to run black powder 308 through this gun. I'm sure someone's going to ask it. It's not going to happen. But rather than waste the components on that reloading of that 308, I just use it on ammo that is more expensive and harder to get, and I'll just buy more 308 ammunition. So I went through stock and I got myself some mixed batches of 308. I do have more than this right here, but the 308 that I have, like, a lot of it is corrosive because it's like old surplus from the 60s and whatnot, 60s and 70s, and I fired it through bolt actions and I discovered that it was corrosive. I discovered that the hard way, actually. But yeah, that stuff's corrosive, and because this is a self-loading rifle, just for ease of convenience, I'm only going to run the corrosive stuff through the bolt actions, because all I got to do is pour hot water down the barrel and call it a day. Versus this right here, I'd have to completely disassemble and clean the entire rifle, so smokeless 308 is what I'm going to use. I got soft points, I got full metal jackets, I got who knows what grainage in these things. We're gonna find out. I'm sure that this right here is going to be just fine in terms of running through this rifle. Alright, I do also want to show that our trigger group right here, the outside body of it, I'm not sure if I'd want to call that a lower receiver or not. I'm sure if I did, somebody would get upset at me. I'm sure if I didn't, somebody else would get upset at me. But the trigger housing right here, this is plastic. I know for a fact that they make metal ones of these, so I'm probably gonna at some point swap out a wood buttstock and a metal trigger housing, trigger guard housing. That's probably what I'm going to do in the future. I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to say, hey, that's the fire control group. I'm talking about the plastic body on the outside, not the fire control group on the inside. Okay, well, push button, mag comes out. These right here look like old school original C-mags that came with this thing. I think this is third pattern. I could be wrong on that, though. I'm not exactly an expert whenever it comes to that. So, besides that, I don't think I have anything else to say about this thing. I am quite excited to have this in the arsenal because I have not had a semi-auto battle rifle yet, other than the M1 Garand. This right here is very much a more modern battle rifle versus something like the M1 Garand. My mindset has always been, rather than invest money in, say, a 308 battle rifle, why don't I just spend that money on 30-06 for the M1 Garand, and that will serve me just fine. But I got this at a pretty gosh darn good deal. It was one of those things that I just could not pass up. So I decided to go ahead, bite the bullet, and get my hands on it. Looks like our receiver is stamped sheet metal that has been bent. Looks like our charging handle tube, which I am so used to calling a gas tube, this doesn't have a gas tube on it. Our charging handle tube is also sheet metal. Our charging handle itself, it looks cast, honestly. Bring this back. I'm sure somebody wants to see the good old HK slap on these things, so let's bring it out like this right here. Can you guys see that on camera? Hopefully. And she is ready to go. I have noticed that with this particular one, I haven't really seen this on other ones. If you aren't really forceful closing this bolt, then the bolt's actually not going to be fully into battery. I doubt that you guys will be able to see it on camera, but you see that little gap up there? That's not fully in battery, and that's just because it's a roller delayed system, and it really needs some momentum going forward to get those rollers to actually engage in their locking surfaces. So it's one of the reasons why they say, hey, slap the thing so it really goes flying forward and you're not out of battery like what we have here. Alright folks, I don't think there's anything else I can say, so I'm just going to have to figure out a way to take this out to the range at one point or another. Thanks for watching, appreciate your time, like, subscribe, share, description below has a link to all sorts of stuff, and check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day, I'll see you all in the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garand. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.